everyone to Kay's Tiny House Adventures. Today is the first video I'm going to do of my decluttering process. So even though my tiny house does not technically exist yet, I still want to be in a healthier mindset that when I move, it's not a complete 180 of what I lived before, right? I live in a pretty big house right now, and I don't want it to be like such a shock that it just leads me to not being happy or successful. So one way that I can do that, especially during the ice storms of Texas, where I've been stuck in this house for almost an entire week. Luckily, I only lost power for a couple hours yesterday. Taco and I have been thriving. It's been fine. But I've also gone a little stir crazy. Sorry, Taco really wants me to play and throw. I don't know where Gumby went. So anyways, when it comes to decluttering, there are things that I don't want to get rid of yet, even though I know I'm not going to have it in my tiny house. One example is my dining room. The whole dining room is the dining table and chairs, certain like TV consoles, this couch, it's definitely too big. So I'll wait to get rid of those kind of larger furniture items till I'm closer to actually moving. In the meantime though, I have tons of little stuff. And I used to live in a pretty small apartment, but when you have the space, you tend to fill it unless you are super intentional about that not happening. And while I was in the beginning, obviously time has passed, so I've accumulated a bunch of things. I don't have like a particular strategy or method that I'm going to use. I do like Marie Kondo's tidying up theory or approach to it. So I'll probably do something kind of similar to what she suggests. If you are not familiar with Marie Kondo and tidying up, you've probably heard of sparking joy. And if something doesn't spark joy, then you get rid of it. But really, it's just taking a bunch of items from one category, say clothing, paper, etc., and going through those items. And you have that item for a reason, but do you still need it today? So that's where the spark joy is, right? That you take that item, you hold it in your hands, and you just make a decision. Yes, no. Sparks joy, yes, no. Is it useful? Is another more practical question. Do you use it? Do you have need of it? Yes or no? And this can get tricky with sentimental items. So the recommendation is to kind of put those aside and sit with them longer. But if it's obviously no, you don't need that thing anymore, you thank it for its time. It served its purpose for you, and now it is time for it to go and lead and find a different purpose. So I try to imagine that all my things are like the toys in Toy Story, and they know what I'm saying to them and have feelings. So maybe that's my approach. And I'm looking around because I've decided that the first category that I will tackle for myself will be books. Now, I have gone through multiple book purges through my life. Me and Half Price Books are like this. I really like the idea of giving books back to the world. I actually have a little book library outside that I built for my neighborhood, and the local neighborhood seems to really appreciate that and like that, so that's really cool. But of course, over time, I have collected lots more books. It's not as much, thank God, or this would have taken forever, but it's still a lot more than I would ever need to take into the tiny house with me. So I went into every room in my house and collected all the books that I could find. Every nook and cranny. Taco thinks it's playtime. She does not care about the books. And you may notice it's a mix of like kids books that I grew up with, Murder, She Wrote, because I'm a fan, travel books, a lot of work books, but nothing like too crazy. It's a very manageable amount of books. And again, like I said before, I tend to purge through my books every 3 or 4 years or so and kind of get rid of or sell the ones that I no longer have a need for. I realize in my adult years, I do not reread books as much as I did when I was younger. So there's less of a connection of me feeling like I have to keep it just in case I feel like reading it again. She's like, why you no throw toy? Why you talking no throw? I don't care about books. I quickly identified my first grouping of books, and they are basically the books I grew up with and have definite sentimental attachment to. These are books that have been well loved and read many, many, many times. So now I'm going to go through a very hard process of figuring out which are worth keeping in my eyes and which maybe I can find a good home for later. Whew. I'm a huge fan of Roald Dahl books, and I can already tell that I must have donated some before already, because I know I only have 3 now, The Twits, The Witches, and Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. But I used to have Matilda, Charlie and the Glass Elevator. I used to have a lot more. So these are definitely my top ones, but I don't foresee myself rereading these, and I have some really good friends that have kids and they are too young to read this, but I think it might be cool to set these aside for them potentially sometime in the future. Wizard of Oz, I'll do that as well. I have a lot of Philip Pullman books. The Golden Compass, The Subtle Knife, Amber Spyglass. These are like my OG copies that I got. So, and the Golden Compass, if you can see, is like falling apart and the pages are yellow. So I think I'll definitely keep this. This is very loving, and once it finally breaks apart, I can obviously get a new one, but I think I'll do that with this little knife as well. Since these are smaller and easier, I'll put these in the keep pile for now. But Amber Spyglass, the third in the series, I have the hardcover version, and while this is my OG copy, because I clearly got it when it was a new release, there was no paperback yet. But because it's just so big and bulky, I think I will donate this or give this away. The Pendragon series. I used to have this entire series, and I think I got rid of all of the other ones and just kept the first one. Haven't reread it at all, so I think this will be another giveaway. Likely in my free library, because that's a good age that lives in my neighborhood. Holes and the Westing Game. These are obvious keeps for me. If you haven't read either of these, I highly recommend it. You could borrow my copy because I will still have them. I am a huge murder mystery reader. I think that I have a bunch of like Murder, She Wrote branded books. They're so lame, but so I'm a huge fan of like things that your grandmother watches. But these books are so funny because they pretend that they're written by Jessica Fletcher, the character on the show, Angela Lansbury's character, and then whoever the actual author is. It's pretty funny. And they all have like the same stock photo of Jessica Fletcher's face, but like with different outfits underneath that are most likely photoshopped. These are just like filler books. I don't know why I keep them. I'll likely need to put these in a thrift store box because I doubt the free library people will go for that. So these will be donated. The Ultimate Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. These are all of the stories, and these were big in my middle and high school days, but again, not something that I really go back to often, so I will likely put this in the free library. The Hunger Games, really good, but again, free library. Inkheart. Such a good story. I have not seen the movie version of this, but Brendan Fraser's in it, and I should really check it out. I have this and the single ink spell. I think my friend, oh, here it is. And these are just gorgeous books, like Cornelia Funke, whoever this author is. I know these are translated from like German or something, but I may keep these. I'll put them in the keep for now, but they're kind of big and bulky, so I don't know how useful they'll be. I have gone through and touched every book. Many went into a very large pile of thank you for serving your purpose, but you are no longer needed. As I was going through them, I found a lot of books that my book club had read. So I think I'll reach out to them first to see if any of them want first dibs on taking some of these books. And then from there, I think I'm just going to put them in a box to go to half price books. There were other categories. There were some books where I wanted specific people to get them, so I put those aside. And then there were a little stack of what I'm going to call work-related books. Like, I'm a tech writer by day, so these books are books that I actually utilize and use to this day. So I thought I might keep these, at least for now, while I still have an office. I also found, speaking of work, this super old proofreading symbols bookmark from National Instruments where I used to work. Like, you can just tell that's from like the 90s. Lovely. But Cain's Jawbone was one of those viral sensation books that each page, it's a 100-page mystery, and they're all out of order. And the goal of this book is for you to tear out all the pages and then put them in order. And it's only been solved like 3 times in the history of this book, which has been, I think it was released like 1930s? I don't know. A long time ago. But it's really freaking hard. So I haven't actually gotten very far with it. But this is more like a puzzle rather than a book. And then here is my Living Small book, which obviously is leading to a lot of inspiration. So that can stay as a coffee table book. The process was, step 1, collect all your books. Step 2 is going to be go through books and either keep, donate, yeah, those are really the only 2 that I have, right? Okay, so let's go. Here's my little keep pile. So I'm clearly a Hank and John Green fan, Ray Bradbury, my original Sorcerer's Stone, an old Nancy Drew book, yes, Cheryl Strayed. So that's my little keep pile. Here are the books that I have either never read or have read but really want to read one more time before I give them away. So this is the to read pile. I put them right under my TV so that I would be inspired to read them instead of watching as much TV. We'll see how that goes. Here are the giveaway donate piles. These are the majority of the books, thankfully. And yeah, I'm happy to see that these will have a fun new home soon. And here is the pile that I have decided to keep, at least for now. These are the books that my dad got me over the years. I will likely keep a few of these but definitely not all of them. When it comes to books, I'm really big into having the physical paper copies in my hand. It's definitely how I enjoy reading books the most. I am not opposed to a Kindle, and I actually put the Kindle in my pile somewhere. I don't know where it is, but I feel like that is a valid, part of the category, and I will definitely keep the Kindle. I also tend to think of when I buy a book, it's kind of like buying a ticket to see a movie or going to an event or something of that nature. So I don't mind buying paper books. I just need a better process of once I've finished reading it, what can I do with it? And obviously I use the library when I can, but oftentimes they don't have it or I need something faster, and I like to support local bookstores, which I highly recommend bookshop.org. I have a couple local bookstores that I highly recommend that you use. So what bookshop.org is, it's kind of like an alternative to Amazon, where they partner with local bookstores, independent bookstores across the US, and you can link to their store and then they'll get part of the profits. Now, bookshop.org is not like Amazon in the sense that they use great old USPS for shipping. So it may take a long time to get your book, which is unfortunate that they are not competitive in that regard. And I don't think they do any sort of free shipping situation either. So on the negative con side, it is more expensive. But on the pro side, you are still getting paper books and you are supporting local bookstores. So I highly recommend connecting your bookshop.org account to either Lark and Owl, which is based out of Georgetown, Texas, or Patchouli Joe's, which is based out of Denton, Texas. I try as hard as I can to not utilize Amazon services if I don't have to, and that is very hard. I mean, I have a Kindle, like I have to engage with them in some regards, but when it comes to paper books, I really try to be intentional, and I'm very fortunate to where I am able to do that. I know not everyone can. So that's just, again, more background logic behind my book buying ways, and now figuring out what books I'm going to give away, sell. Half Price Books, by the way, is a used bookstore that sells all their books for half of the price of whatever's on the publisher price on the book. And so they'll often buy used books from people, and you get a very small amount. But they'll also buy like old DVDs, records, CDs, like old media, and they're really cool. So I often utilize them. But for this, since I don't have like a ton of books, I'll likely put most of them in the free library over time, and hopefully the neighborhood can enjoy the literature, or I will just give them to friends or people who may be interested in them. And then lastly would be like a thrift store or something to give away. So that is books, check, done. Now moving forward, there's plenty of time to get more books and take up more space. So in the meantime, my idea is that the minute I finish a book, I will either just people outside having fun, because we haven't been able to have fun for 4 days. So my new system will be, once a new book enters this house, it will either have been borrowed or purchased. So if it's borrowed, I give it back ASAP. If it is purchased, I will then put it either in the free book library that I have, or give it away to someone, or Half Price Books. Seems pretty easy. Nice flow, ebb and flow of the books. So thank you for going through this with me. It was a bit tedious, I'm not gonna lie. I think just the number of books was just a lot to like go through one by one. It is what it is. It's good that I was able to take every single individual book and make a decision, but now I am fatigued. So I'm definitely glad that I have decided to start this now and not later when I'm about to move. So this just goes to show that this process, 1, not easy, 2, very tiring, and 3, will take a very long time, which totally okay. I have the time. Anyways, until next time when we maybe declutter something else, or maybe we'll have some more finalized tiny house plans. Who knows? But until then,